You're starting a podcast or you're reinvigorating an old podcast. Now, what format will you choose? It's kind of the first fundamental questions that develop everything else in your podcast, and you don't know where to start. You're listening to the Vic Podcasters podcast, your bite-sized slice of podcasting know-how. We're here to connect Victorian podcasters. Whether you're just starting, a seasoned pro, or stuck in the one day I will phase, stop dreaming and dive in. Join our email list or hop onto our Facebook and LinkedIn groups for updates, resources, and a supportive community. Because podcasting is better when we do it together. Vic Podcasters is proudly produced on Wadawurrung land. Solo, interview, or co-host, oh my! Yes, when it comes to podcast format, this is a fairly crucial question in regards to everything else you're going to be doing after you've made that choice. And I'm going to tell you now that TikTok and the algorithm does not know your goals. So, speaking of which, let's start off with your goals when it comes to podcasting. As we like to say here at Big Podcasters, why are you podcasting in the first place? Are you podcasting to connect with an existing community or maybe generate your own? Are you trying to build a personal brand or a business brand? Are you trying to position yourself, the producer, the host, as a thought leader? Or are you working with a team to be able to make someone else the thought leader? Are you sharing your stories or just having fun, taking the opportunity to record your conversation with mates, for example? Let's go with the different formats and I'll explain briefly as I go along. So we've essentially got the solo show, we've got a co-hosted show, and we've got an interview style show. Now, of course, there are other formats that you can potentially do when it comes to podcasting, but these are the three main heavy hitters. And for each of these formats, I'm going to do the best for, pros, and what to watch out for, or the cons, as I like to think. When it comes to a solo show, it is best for people who are storytellers, who are coaches, who are experts, people who love the control and the minimal scheduling drama, as someone who has been running this podcast for over 50 episodes. The pros is that it is flexible, it is fast to record, and there's no guest wrangling or co-host clashes that you may have to deal with to record. And you have the better opportunity to batch a bunch of your episodes because you're just doing it with just yourself. But a couple of things to watch out for is when you are doing it by yourself and recording and talking for 20, 30, 40, 80 minutes at a time, your energy may dip. And this can require a lot of prep to make sure that you have a strong delivery and a fair bit of practice. Now, of course, you're going to have to do that with any other podcast episode, but that very much is the thing when you are the only one talking. Especially when it comes to podcasting by yourself, it can feel like you're talking to a brick wall, and because you are ultimately, because when you're recording, you're never just live streaming out to an audience. You get the feedback much later, and it can feel like you're not getting a lot of anything back from, especially when you are first starting. So in those times, make sure you check out our backlog about how to podcast solo, or make sure you check out Vic Podcasters on Facebook, LinkedIn, or email newsletters to find a community that can support you on your solo endeavors. G'day listener, I'm just pausing your podcasting experience to let you know that I have my own podcast, the Unboring Your Brand podcast. It's branding, but make it unboring. Smashing your goals while laughing and listening to Unboring Your Brand podcast. Check it out wherever your podcatcher says that you can. You can find the one that's by the Video Confidence Coach. And that's me. And now back to your scheduled programming. The next format is co-hosting a show. So this is best for when you're trying to banter with friend or friends, with teams, or with topical duos. This is great for building chemistry and keeping the energy level up because you have another person to bounce off these ideas, these thoughts. There's a lot of podcasts that I really enjoy where someone who is an expert in their field is brought on to someone who is not an expert in their field, and they have this really interesting, engaging conversation because they are educating one another with their thoughts and topics. The pros, as you can imagine, there is a built-in back and forth and is engaging both to listen to and to watch, as the TikTok algorithms can probably suppose. And you can share the workload. If you are producing and hosting this podcast together or spread across a team, it can be a lot easier where you don't have to worry about everything from prep to editing to scheduling to it can get a bit much sometimes. So it's nice to share that workload with other people. The cons or things to watch out for is, as I mentioned, the scheduling chaos. People have lives, people have busy lives. And when you add more and more people into a podcast, endeavor, there's going to be some scheduling conflicts. So making sure that you take that time to schedule things out and give yourself enough space. And if you can, batch record 1 or 2 episodes at a time, or maybe even 3, to give yourself that flexibility so you can keep that consistent release schedule so you're not killing each other by the end of it. There is also a possibility, one thing that I will say is there is a possibility that a co-host, if you have more than one, or if you have just another co-host, can drop out due to life circumstances or situations like that, and that can become quite awkward. So make sure when you are starting a podcast with someone else or with a team that you've got people on board and they're in it for the long haul, because that's what podcasting is. It is a long form format. Speaking of formats, we have interview style. So this is awesome for networking, building your authority, or sharing other people's stories. And if you love learning from your guests, this is a great opportunity to do so in an interview style. Pros are guests bring in new perspective and of course bring in their audience, and is an easier way to stay fresh with new content because you're constantly getting feedback from new faces and new voices. The cons or things to watch out for is that lovely monster, scheduling, conflicts, and booking those people in can be quite stressful. Time zones when you're working with people who are overseas, and for anyone who is in Victoria, you will know this if you work with anyone who is overseas or in Perth. I love you guys, but you are way too far away. And this can bring a lot of issues with doing things online, or a lot of tech failures that can come along with it, with any podcast, for example, but they are more prevalent in these interview styles. And as you can imagine, and as I've alluded to through this episode, TikTok favors this style, but it's not the best. It's just the most visual because you're using their audience and as you can probably imagine. All of these styles are not exclusive to themselves. You can have different combinations of these within the one podcast. You can have solo episodes and then co-host when you have the opportunity to record, and then record some interview styles with people in a group setting. There is no strict definition. It just helps you when it comes to planning and actually creating a podcast to know what format you're going to be sticking to, and as you reach milestones and evolve and grow your podcast, to be able to pivot and change when that comes up. My PSA to you is that TikTok is not your producer. Interview clips, especially interview style clips, dominate TikTok. Like, the algorithm is insane. Now, of course, everyone's algorithm is always a bit different, but the algorithm talking is not your goals. And just because you see something a lot online does not reflect the reality. Audio only storytelling still slaps, and you don't need to chase the trends to suit your vibe if all you're chasing is clout. What I would like you to do from here is write your top podcasting goal on a piece of paper in your notes app, wherever you can find it. What is your goal? What are you trying to do with your podcast? Then from there, pick a format that matches your strengths and what you're trying to achieve. Again, always back to the goal and what your audience needs. And if, say, for example, you have the opportunity to interview someone but you're a solo podcast, have a different format for a bonus episode. If you are interested in it, there is a high chance that your audience is interested in it too. So why not add it as an extra bonus episode, or maybe allude to it in some other episodes and get people to go to maybe join your email list to get the exclusive stuff. Again, you can always branch out different formats from there, but take this opportunity to try new things. You don't need permission to podcast your way. You can make it sustainable and non-performative, and ultimately consistently. Choose what keeps you excited to hit record, and that is what matters when recording your podcast. Going back into the archive, make sure you check out episode 4, How Do I Choose a Topic for My Podcast, which is obviously going to relate to the best format, and episode 10, Audio versus Video Podcast, Audience, Engagement, and Reach. What is the best? And obviously, when it comes to picking your format, it's always useful to pick what type of podcast are you going to do. Are you going to do audio, video, or are you going to do a combination of the two? Do you have the skills? That's what you're going to find out in that episode. That's a wrap. Remember, we're here every week to share quick tips, updates, and the occasional bad joke. Feeling inspired? Good. Now hit record, or go to the show notes of this episode for a backstage pass experience of the Victorian podcasting scene. Vic Podcasters would like to acknowledge and pay our respects to the Wadawurrung people of the Kulin Nation, the traditional custodians on the land on which we work, live, and play. We pay our respects to their elders past and present. We stand with the traditional custodians of these lands in working towards a more equal future. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land. And remember, podcasting doesn't have to be a solo gig.